welcome to Food for Thought. I'm Ramona Singh, and joining me is the group editor of Y Media, Jadoo Jaswal.
Hi, Ramona ji, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing great as always. Thank you so much for asking.
Absolutely. What's great about Food for Thought, it's a brand new show airing every Sunday at 10 a.m., 4 p.m., and 10 p.m. And we have discussions about matter of the heart, matters of the soul, what makes you happy in life, what keeps you healthy in life, how important is mental health to make sure that you're consistent and on top of it. But today's show, it's about how do you create your best life.
Wow, that sounds very interesting. I think how do you create your best life? And I think everybody should aspire to be their best version. And there are so many aspects to it. How do you create your best life? I think everybody aspires to have a great career. Mm-hmm. Everybody aspires to have great success. And success in terms of not just in career, but in terms of health, and health being spiritual health, mental health, physical health. How good is your intellectual health? Because we need to nourish ourselves intellectually as well.
Absolutely. And creating your best life, it's important to make sure that you have clarity of thought. Yes. But before we go into how that's important, how you get there, I have a quote of the day that I want to share with you. The quote is, "Smiles are for free, but they're worth a lot."
I think I totally agree with what you just mentioned. Yeah. And smile, there are so many things which have been said about smile. Smile is the best makeup you could wear. Smile is of course very contagious, and it's a proven fact in science as well, because our mind, it easily picks out what the other person is doing. I know mainly we use this for monkeys, but yes, we've all evolved, as we all know that. But yes, this is what our mind does. It mimics. So if anybody is smiling, yes, it's contagious. And as we were discussing yesterday as well, smile, it's only going to use 17 muscles, but if you're frowning, if you're angry, it'll use 43 muscles.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what, for exercise, it's better to frown?
No. Because it's not better.
I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Yeah. Because when you're smiling, actually it lifts up.
Yeah.
It lifts up. You may not even need that much of cosmetics if you're smiling all the time. If you're happy all the time. Of course, there's so many chemicals which are released in your brain while you're smiling. Because our brain, you can trick it. Our brain doesn't know whether you're faking a smile or you're actually happy. Because when you're smiling, our brain gives a signal, hey, everything is great, we're laughing.
So it's less effort to actually smile. Yeah. And it reminds me of a statement that I once heard that feelings follow action.
Yes.
So for example, if you don't feel happy, but you smile, all of a sudden, like you said, your brain gets tricked into feeling happy. If you don't feel like exercising, go and exercise, because immediately you'll get into the flow of it and feel it. So feelings follow action. So when you don't feel like doing something, take an action, and your feelings will be right there to match it.
Yes, absolutely. Because that's what you just pointed out, clarity of thought. So as long as you have clarity of thought, yes, you'll start feeling that this is what I need to do, then everything else follows.
So now let me ask you, do you smile at strangers?
I do, of course I do.
Good.
And I've spoken about this on my radio show as well many times, that yes, I do smile whenever I go out for a walk. And especially if there is anybody, I'll definitely smile at them. As a matter of fact, I was on, you take an exit on Highway 401 on Ontario. There was a complete stranger standing outside, and I know he was there. But and by the time the green light signaled, but I made sure, I don't know whether it was rude or not, while I was passing by, so he was sitting there, he was not looking at anybody else. So I honked the horn and I smiled and waved at him. Yeah, I don't know whether...
You're saying hello, not please move. You're saying hello, that's the difference.
Yeah, that's the difference, yeah. So I says hello to him, he came to my side, and I waved at him and I moved out. Actually, he was happy too, and that lifted my mood even further. You feel happy, if you're watching anybody smiling or happy, that basically in turn lifts your mood as well.
Absolutely. Join us with the conversation. Give us a call and let us know, when was the last time you smiled at a stranger, and when was the last time you just smiled just because, even when you didn't feel like it? So always give us a call. Join us on our social media, on Facebook, on Instagram. We're there. We'd love to hear from you.
Sure. I think all our social media handles are there at the screen, so we'll love to hear from you on our Facebook page, on our Twitter, on our Insta as well. Thank you.
So let's get right into it. We want to talk about why is clarity so important, right? Because you want to create your best life, right? But you first got to know what is the best life for you, because what's the best life for you is not the same one for me, right? So if I just watch your life, let's say I watch your life on Facebook and on Instagram, I say, wow, you live as a group editor such an amazing life. I want that life. But unless I know who I am and I have clarity of thought about what's good for me, I'll start going after what you do, and then I'll be very disappointed, don't you think?
Yeah. Three questions from this one.
Yeah.
I'll address one by one, each one of them. First one, yes, we often tend to do that. We see, wow, Shah Rukh Khan's life is amazing. But we don't know. His parents died very early. Yeah. His sister, she had her nervous breakdown. And then he has his own share of issues. As much as we fantasize, hey, Shah Rukh Khan has this amazing life. Okay, let's talk about your icon. Who's your icon? Somebody whom you really admire, any icon that you want to name?
Oprah, for example, yeah.
Okay. Now, since you've named Oprah, there are so many other things that we always see. But do we know what she's been through personal life? Yeah. The abuse she went during her childhood. I still remember she almost left a note where she was about to commit a suicide. She's had, so many failed relationships. There are so many challenges. So, anytime we see anybody else's life, even if we sign up for that life and eventually we get a long list that, hey guys, these are 50% of the hardship that this person has faced, we will say thanks, but no thanks.
Absolutely. And when you read about her schedule, she said when she used to do her Oprah Winfrey show, which was so successful for 25 years, she said she used to work 17 hours a day every day. She goes, I'd come home exhausted, but I was happy because I was doing what I love. She sacrificed having a personal marriage, having children. Those were her choices. Yeah. She didn't think it was right for her, but she's made a lot of sacrifices to create what she has.
Very good point. That leads to my second point that I wanted to mention, choices, decisions. Why are we both of us sitting over here? Because we made a decision. Because, okay, I made a decision. I want to work for Y Media. I made that decision. Working for Y Media, I also made a decision that, yes, actually, Ramona ji made a decision that as now she's working for money, she made a decision, will do food for thought. So that's her, she's a lead anchor here. And then she made a decision, okay, I can still have Yudhvir in the show as much as he's good on the political or sports or finance or business side, but okay, fine, we'll have him here. So these are, whatever we are today, it's a net results of the millions of decisions that we have made in our entire life. It's not just 10,000. Millions of decisions that we make in our lives. This is the net result where we are, whether we are in our teens or 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s or 80s. This is point number one. Second point that you just mentioned, you asked a very good question. Why should we have clarity of thought or clarity of mind? For a simple reason, because you're going to make millions of decisions in your life, and you need to make sure if you have clarity of thought, that will lead to making good decisions. Not that you're going to be perfect in any decision, but at least you're going to make good decisions. Now, if I ask our viewers, what are the two most important decisions that you're going to make? Anytime I'm invited, I've been invited a few times to, these convocations, and these are young graduates who are, about to attend their graduation ceremony. Sometimes the graduation ceremony has already been held, and they invite me as the guest speaker or the chief guest, and I go over there. This is something I say this every time, whether it was any university, any college, wherever I went. And this is what I'm going to say here today as well. These are the two most important decisions that you're going to make in your life. What are those? Number one, about your career. What is your career? And number two, about your marriage. Whether you want to get married, yes or no, that itself is a decision. Whom do you want to get married? That itself is another decision. How many kids you want to have, 1, 2 or 3? These two decisions regarding your career and your spouse, these are going to stay with you for 99% of your life, because you're at work or you're at home with your spouse or with your kids. So this decision itself will affect 99% of your life. So better make them with very good clarity of mind.
That's great that you say that, because it reminds me of I was many years ago, when I was still a student in university, I did a leadership course in Washington University. It was the American University in Washington, DC, and so I was there for the summer, and the professor that was teaching the course, she was a lawyer and had her foundations, and she actually said the same thing, but she went a little step further. She said, if you choose, the most important decision of your life, after what you said, if you do choose to get married, it's who you marry, even before your career, because your partner is going to be there with you through all the career changes, all the ups and downs, whether you have a family, whether you don't, and that person is so important, right? So yeah, like what you said, are you going to, but if you're going to, who that person is.
Yes, absolutely, and I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I wasn't really basically prioritizing it,
Yeah.
but these are the two most important decisions that you're going to make in your life, and I think I agree. You can bring the marriage thing further, and because these are and not that you can't change it. You can change your career. Of course, you can change your spouse, but there's a lot
It's easier to change your career, I think, than your spouse, right?
Yes.
Well, I think everyone has their own opinion on that.
Yeah.
But, so getting back onto how do you create clarity? First one is clarity. Why is it important to create clarity? The first one is clarity helps you find focus and direction. So if you feel lost or directionless and you don't know which way to go, it's going to save you so much time and energy when you know like what it is that you're clear about, what to be able to focus on.
Yeah, actually now I'll take you through a journey here, actually a story, because I've said this many times, whatever I'll be sharing, most of the things, 90% plus would be from my experience. Now, when we were growing up as kids in our school time, we were 5 friends in a school. And one of our friends, he said, I want to become an army officer. Okay, at least the clarity of mind is there. He wants to become an army officer. Then there was another friend, he said, you know what, my father has been in Merchant Navy. And in Merchant Navy, he gets a lot of money. And this is how I've been raised. And even at the school time, I still remember, in India those days, there was a Contessa. He had a big, long white car, Contessa. So he says, it's money is my priority. So I'm going to make sure I'm going to join Merchant Navy. Then there is another young guy. He said, I love cricket, and one day I'll play cricket for India. Now here I am. They asked me, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to do something big. But I didn't know what big, whether in cricket. I said, no, I'm good at cricket, but that's not, because I don't think so I'll get to the Indian team. I may or may not, but there's a fair chance I won't. So if I want to do something, I can't play for a state level or a district level team. It has to be the national team. So I said, no, maybe not, cricket is not for me. Army, yes, as much as I wanted to go in Indian forces, but I said, maybe I won't be that big. But I was still not confused. So here it is, don't get overwhelmed thinking that, yes, if you're not able to decide on these two most important things about your life partner. And the interesting part is we usually have to take these decisions from 15 to 30 years of age. So here we are, all 5 of us, debating what sort of careers do we pick.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we're saying this and being mindful of our, South Asian audience, sometimes they don't even get to pick their partner, right? Family does, and obviously you know that your parents know what's in your best interest.
That's another point. You can call me a rebel that way or whatever. I made it sure right from day one, I'm not going to live my life as a tick box, because this is what I see. As much as, okay, my name was given to me. It was given to me. I didn't pick my name. As much as I love my name, Yudhvir is a very unique name. I doubt there are many Yudhvir Jaswals, but this is a unique name. I love it, fine. But this was not given to me. Okay, what happens? The child is born, you give a name, first tick box. Second, okay, you have to go to school. You have to go to school. Could be homeschooling or anything else. No, go to school, fine. And you're right, in our South Asian community, you have to be a doctor or an engineer or maybe a lawyer or something like that. There's a lot of pressure, and then the pressure was on me as well. I said, no, I can't be a doctor. And when it came to engineering, I know our relatives would say that, okay, go for electronics or IT. I said, no, I can't do electronics or mechanical. I made sure I'm going to do the engineering that I would pick, and it was mechanical, no IT, no electronics for me. Move further. Okay, now you've done everything fine, the parents will say, okay, get married. Get married, get married. Okay, you're 20, you're 30. Why you have to get married? Is this some sort of tag that I have to get? Okay, you're married now? Okay, 1 kid. Okay, 1 kid is fine. No, 2 kids. Okay, there are 2 boys, 2 girls, we got another one, 3rd kid. Okay, and then now what do you do? Get them educated, keep on repeating that cycle, and off you go. So I said, no, my life is not like a tick box. I won't do that. So I made sure there are certain choices that I'll make, but for that, as you mentioned, our main topic today, you have to have clarity of mind. That's very important.
Absolutely. Second thing, why clarity is so important. Clarity makes it easier to get things done. So if you don't know why you're doing it, you're just going to stay stuck with no action. So making sure that what it is that you want will actually move you into getting it done and not waste time.
Exactly. I'll again take you to the journey of our 5 school friends that I was discussing earlier.
Right.
Now here we are. So the first guy, he said, okay, Merchant Navy. So he was very much focused and he got it done because he had clarity of thought. Hey guys, I want money, and I think Merchant Navy is one area. And at that time, I'm talking about 1992. So he was earning 35,000 as a deck cadet. So 35,000 rupees a month, that was an amazing salary at that time. So he said, okay, I'm just 17 years old. 17 years old, you're earning 35,000 a month. You have everything. We used to, party. People would ask us, these young kids, 16, 17-year-olds, they're sitting in hotels, Jalandhar, Delhi. What do these guys do? So Shaminder, I can say his name, Shaminder Singh Rail. He's still in Merchant Navy, doing an amazing thing. That's what his priority was, that, hey guys, I need tons of money. He did that. Second, Robbie Buller. Now here is this guy who wanted to be in army. He couldn't go in army because he got an interview. He failed twice. So he made a choice. He went into Merchant Navy. He was there for good 14 months. He sailed for 14 months. You have to sail for consecutively for 18 months before you get promoted from deck cadet. He had done his 14 months sea time. He was getting a call, hey guys, the ship is moving from, that time you used to call it Madras, but now it's Chennai. The ship is moving away, and come back and we are going to waive your 4 months. We're going to give you a promotion. You don't have to do 4 months more of sea time. Get a train, move to Delhi, take a flight, from there move to Chennai, and the ship will sail. And also your best buddy, Shaminder Singh Rail, we're 5 of us, your school time friend, he's also in the same ship. So guys, as much as you're working, you'll have a great time in the next 6 months, and the salary package is amazing. Now this guy, we were in Jalandhar, he says, Yudhvir, I want to go in army. I'm very desperate. And here is a major opportunity, clarity of thought. That's very important in life. He says, no, I want to go in army. And he had another chance for SSB interview. But if he picks up this SSB interview, he misses that chance to sail. So I said, what do you want? He says, clarity of thought, I want to go in army. He went for that SSP. This was in Bhopal. He went there and he called me, he said, Yudhvir, I cleared it. And today he became one of the youngest brigadiers. Now he's serving in Indian Army. So clarity of thought is very important.
Yeah, and it actually reminds me of when you start a project and you can't finish it, possibly because you're not very clear about your why. Why are you doing it? Why is this important to you? Because when you understand those reasons about why you decide to do something, why you decide to take a certain job, why you decide to start a project, that's how you see it actually through, by being clear about the objective of why am I doing this? And you're right, you actually point out something very important. Your feelings will always indicate what's important, like where you're being drawn. So your family, your parents, your relatives, society, pop culture, media, whatever it is, may tell you what you should feel and do and what's right for you. But if it doesn't in your gut feel like the right decision, like how he had the 2 choices of, do I do this? Feelings usually direct you, and I usually just follow the feeling. I lean into it, and actually I go ahead.
There's one thing more. Now you've asked me, I'm not sure how much time do we have, but this is another thing that has triggered the discussion. How do you do the decision making? Clarity of thought is very important, but how do you do the decision making? Do you take decisions emotionally, or we say from your heart? Yes and no. History tells us majority of decisions that we've done personally or even as leaders, which are wrong, will fall in that category, that we took the decision emotionally. That is why the decision went wrong. Okay, so should we let our mind govern all that from our knowledge, from the logic? No, they're not 100% correct as well. So what should be the basis of our decision making? Our heart or mind, both having failed sometimes. So what should be the logic? I think the most important thing when we're making any decision in life, the base has to be good intentions. If there are good intentions, the decisions 99% of the time, yes, of course you could still falter, but 99% of the time, good intentions make good decisions.
Absolutely. And our final point about why clarity is so important is that clarity will help you push through doubt. So times when you've made decisions or you think you want to do a certain thing and there's a lot of doubt, unless you're clear about your why, the objective why you're doing it, why it's important to you, why it's the right thing for you, you're going to doubt yourself because you're always going to have people that tell you, oh, that's not for you, oh, you won't enjoy that, oh, it's a big mistake. So, this helps pushing past that doubt, which sometimes prevents us from actually taking action or prevents us from actually going after our dreams or what we really want to do.
You're right. This is what has happened to me many times. We can take this example of this channel as well. There are many people who questioned, and they were right in their approach, that should we have a 24-hour South Asian channel? Is there a demand for it? People are cutting the cables, the cord cutters, people are going digital. There's no point in investing a channel right now. And I think we shouldn't be doing it, especially for a niche market like the South Asian community. But I always had a strong belief that yes, it is the need of the hour, the community is ever growing, we must go ahead with that. And this is not for this channel itself. I think this is something we should always make sure. If we strongly believe on something, if our clarity of thought is right, then we must go for it.
Okay, that's actually great because you brought this up. And I want to ask you, because Y Media started with newspaper, right? So Midweek,
Yes.
we have it. It's a beautiful, beautiful 3-sectional newspaper in color,
Right.
and covers from everything from sports to, current events and fashion and lifestyle. So this you made successful, right? And then you can, of course, correct me.
Yeah.
And then what made you, now what was that thought process then was so clear about saying, you know what, I could live with just this, or now I want to go to radio, then I want to go to TV. So what, share with us that clarity that it took to get there for you to even act on those things.
Good question. And this is precisely the reason why media has been so dominant, if I may, say that. Because as much as I knew we are spreading ourselves too thin, because just when the paper started doing good, we ventured into digital space. And we started calling ourselves not just a media company, but a digital company, SouthAsianDaily.com. Even before we could get any revenues from the digital space, because this was very early at that time in the digital space, we ventured into radio. The radio started doing well, but venturing into a 24-hour TV channel. Now this is a total different ball game. We ventured into the TV thing. But one thing I was sure, again, the same thing, I'll take you back. Clarity of thought. Clarity of thought, clarity of mind is very important in politics, in business, in sports, in relationship, in personal life, everything in health, you name it. Clarity of thought is the utmost thing for your success. If you do not have clarity of thought, there is no way you can succeed. Name any person in life, whether it was Shah Rukh Khan or Oprah, they all had at least one thing in common. They all had one thing in common, 100% clarity of thought. Barack Obama said he had clear thought. He said, do you want to become a senator? No, I want to become the president of the United States. Clarity of thought. Oprah, as much as hardships you have, clarity of thought. I want to become this icon. Shah Rukh Khan, he went to Mumbai and they were on the beach. Now his roommate comes that, hey, Shah Rukh Khan, because we all know, he had a very humble background and we all know the story. His roommate comes to Shah Rukh Khan and he says, you know what? The guy just kicked us out because we were not able to pay rent, and what do we do? And this guy is walking on the beach and he's saying, in Hindi of course, मैं मुंबई पे राज करने आया हूँ. That's why he's called King Khan, Basha Khan. मैं बादशाह बनने आया हूँ. So his guy is saying, listen, we've been kicked out of our rental place. We do not have money to pay our rent. And okay, your dreams are fine. He said, wait a minute, listen to what I'm saying. I'm going to be the Badshah of Bollywood, the king of Bollywood. Clarity of thought, clear, precise. Very similarly, I had a clear thought. As much as we were spreading ourselves too thin, I had a clear thought that after 2 years, 5 years, there will be a time, print, okay, fine, which is great. What do you have? You have radio, which is great. You have digital, which is great. You have TV. But here is a media house which has its footprints in digital, print, radio, and TV. And I need to make sure that all of them are doing well.
Now, maybe you don't want to answer this. Are you done yet, or are you still planning and you want to expand?
No, good question. When do you die? When do you die? When your dreams are over, that is the time you die. So I would want to be working and keep on, changing my orbits. If you have to change your life or do something good, you always need to keep on changing your orbits. You cannot stay in the same orbit, because then you'll be revolving around the same planets. So you need to change your orbits. And if your dreams are bigger, maybe think changing about your galaxies as well. Don't
Right.
even think about changing your orbits. Let me throw back a question at you.
Sure.
At this point. Ramona ji, if I were to ask you, what is your objective in life? What would that be?
My objective in life is I have a bucket list
Okay.
of things I want to do and experience before I die. Now, nobody knows when their last day is. Nobody knows how much time they have.
Right.
But my objective is I want to be active, get out there and see. And so that's why I love traveling. That's why I love reading. That's why I love doing different things, put myself in very uncomfortable situations until I get comfortable with it. So really, that's my biggest objective in life. And that's actually what juices me. That's what drives me. If I'm doing a repetitive cycle of the same thing, that would be like death to my soul, to say I'm going to do the same thing for 30 years and that's all I'm going to see. I'm going to drive on the same street. I'm going to that to me. So I knew that very early on, right? So which is what made me do so many different things in terms of career, what made me get active in so many different causes, because it was like, oh, I felt alive. Right? I felt like I'm alive. I get to experience this. I get to see this. That's why I like tasting different foods. I like experimenting with my hair color. I just need to be able to do that. And so I know anything, I'm very clear about that. So I know anything I do has to meet those needs. And of course you have a balance, right? Like you need to have a balance and all of that. So when you start, you can actually excel at it and enjoy it and be the best you can. And then when you're like, you know what, what's next? And then you always know, your gut will always tell you. So it's that feeling of like, do I do this? Do I do that? And usually you know.
Yeah. And I already knew the answer, but I wanted to listen it from you, because you see how passionate you were talking about these
Yeah.
things. You know, it got you into a different zone, it got you into a different mode, as if you are ready to jump on from one orbit to a different galaxy right now,
Yeah.
as we speak.
Yeah.
I could see that, I could
Yeah.
feel that. And you're right, that's what keeps us alive. You know, there are two different genres here, two different DNAs here. One DNA, as much as it is great, because, and especially from the spiritual aspect, these are guys who will be very contented. And that's what spirituality says, stay contented. They won't think about tomorrow, they're doing good. And they'll do small little increments, and that's an amazing way to live that life as well.
Yeah.
But here is another category of people like you and me. In their DNA, it is, you said they're uncomfortable if they become comfortable. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's good to know that about yourself and to know that you might be different than what is expected of you, but also not judge yourself. You know, give yourself permission to just be, and also not judge other people who are comfortable with something you're not comfortable with, something that you don't want. So it's about just understanding, and we're all different, and we're, you know, sharing this life, and you got it, and I'm excited. You know, it's exciting times, and it's actually, you know, I thought, to be honest with you, the reason I wanted to do Food for Thought is I think it's such an important time to be able to talk about these things, because, you know, you look at social media and you turn on the TV and you talk to your friends and family and coworkers, and it's such a time of uncertainty that it's so good to be able to just have these dialogues and go back to basics on certain things. And in a way, this stuff helps me cope. Right? So today's conversation is actually, it helps me in so many ways, right? Like, how do you stay clear? But you know, we're going to take a break. We'll be back soon. We are talking about how do you create your best life. But to be able to create your best life, you need to actually have clarity of thought. So we'll be right back, and after this break. welcome back to Food for Thought. I am Ramona Singh. Joining me is the group editor, Jadoo Jaswal. How are you?
I'm doing great, Ramona ji. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure talking to you. How are you?
Yes, and today's discussion is about how do you create your best life. And before you can do that, of course, you need to have clarity of thought. So I do want to say that this is just part one of this show series of how do you create your best life, because we're going to go into exercises on getting, once when we know what clarity is and how to get there, but then on every other topic and category in your life, like your fitness, your health, your relationships, your career. We're going to go into all that and do an exercise together.
Sure, we will. And I think this is very important because everybody has their priorities. Some people, they say, okay, fine, we want to have a great spiritual life as well. But for others, it may or may not be important because there are many non-believers as well. Right? For some people, intellectual nourishment, like for me, intellectual nourishment is very important. I think, when we say this person is very well-read, and I always used to wonder, what does this mean? But from the last many years, if there is something that I do on a consistent basis, even before going to bed, this is one thing, I'll keep reading something. I feel so good. So intellectual nourishment is something which is very important for me. Of course, health is important. Of course, there are so many other things which are important. Media is very important too.
Media is very important. So now what we want to talk about is, how do you know if you're lacking mental clarity? Right, so we talked about why it's so important, but now if you're wondering at home, do I lack it? So, okay, so here are some signs that you should be mindful of to know if you're lacking mental clarity, and then of course we'll talk about how do you create it for yourself. Okay, so there's 5 signs. One being you constantly question yourself and what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I think that's a clear sign that that means there's no clarity. As much as advice is very important. It's not that you should, because you should take advice, because that's what coaches are there for. And as like Michael Jordan, I always give this example. He had 6 or 7 coaches. One is the fitness coach, one is the basketball coach, even the financial coach as well. So advice is very important, but you need to make sure the decision, the final decision is it's your call, because then there is another aspect attached to it. So sometimes I say this on my radio many times, and again, this is my own derived thing, To do something great or to succeed in life, all you need is one inspiration. One inspiration to do anything great. If you don't want to do anything good, there are 1,000 reasons. This is not happening. That is not happening. So, just as you mentioned just now, you need to take responsibility. You need to take ownership. Oh, you know what? The government is like this. Oh, you know what? The parents are like this. Oh, you know what? My friends are like this. Oh, I wish I had this education. I wish, I had more money. I wish I had this thing. No, there'll never be 100% ideal situation when the government, your parents, your money, your age, your life, your spouse, everything is ideal. No, don't wait for that. There will be 1,000 excuses. Don't make that. Take the responsibility, take the ownership, and the decision is yours. Take 1,000 advices, but take ownership.
Yes, and you actually led really well into the next one, which is you have to ask others for advice about everything. So it's okay to ask advice for some things that you don't, know about or go to an expert, but about everything, then you don't have that clarity.
Yeah, because if you're taking advice for everything, that means one thing is for sure, you don't know what you want in life.
Yeah.
I say that many times on radio. Again, I keep on driving certain things. This again thing, with utmost respect, if I may, 90% people do not know what they want in life. So that is a clear-cut case. If you're taking advice for everything, then you certainly fall into that 90% category. You do not know what you want in life.
And imagine how confusing it is, because people are going to tell you different things, opposing views, and so if you're listening to everybody for everything, you're going to hear, 500 different answers, and then you're going to be like, then you're going to be even more confused about what you want.
Yeah, because
or what you should do.
I think confusion is the exact opposite of not being clear in your mind. If you have clarity of thought, there'll be no confusion at all. I want this, clarity of thought is clear. Yes, I want this. I want to do engineering. Which one? Mechanical? Yes, the answer is yes. Okay, I want to do a job. Yes. I want to do this business. Yes. Do I want to move to Canada? Yes. Do I want to do business in media? Yes. It might take some time. Don't get overwhelmed. Yes, and especially during that age from 15 to 25, you have to take two very important decisions at that time: your career and your relationship. But don't get overwhelmed. You will figure it out. Don't worry.
Yes, and the third one is you say yes to everything because you're not sure what to prioritize. I mean, there was a time where I was saying yes to so many things because I wanted to learn so many different things. And so I thought, okay, like at a new job when I was like in my 20s, and I used to say yes to every project because I really wanted to know what I'm good at. But then afterwards, I realized, okay, I like this, I don't like this, I'm good at this, I enjoy that. Then I was able to say yes or no to things that did not match my, my goals, because I was very clear about it. But if you're somebody who's saying yes to everything, you're diluting your time, right? It's going everywhere, and you're not able to find the time to do the things that you most enjoy, and then you wonder, oh, I don't have enough time in the day, or you're upset about it. So it's so important to be able to know what that is and prioritize that thing instead of saying yes to everything and everyone. And sometimes you say yes because you want to be liked, right? And that's also, be mindful of that, because you don't need to be liked by everybody. It's not possible.
Yeah, actually, it's going to be counterproductive.
Yeah.
If you say yes to everything just because you want people to like you, the answer is absolutely not. Because it'll be counterproductive because you're saying yes at one time, and then later on you realize, no, this is not for me. And then people will say, hey, you said yes to it. Yeah.
And like you said, if you say yes to something, but you just don't have time to do it, then people think you say yes, but you're not going to actually do it. And then you have a new reputation and a new characteristic.
Yes. So again, the same thing, the clarity of mind is very important, that you should know what you want. Say for instance, you're saying yes to a relationship which you don't like.
Oh my God.
Think about that. Say you're saying yes to a career choice which you don't like, because you'll be picking up a career choice or a relationship. At the end, you won't be contented. You'll be dissatisfied, and it'll be counterproductive. So you're better off making your mind clear. The clarity of thought is important, and then you make decision. Do not say yes to everything.
Yes. Okay. And the next one is you're overwhelmed with ideas and never know which one to work on first. And I think that's a consequence and a byproduct of taking advice from everybody and saying yes to everything and not really giving yourself time to figure out what it is that you want to do.
That can happen to many people who have this thing in the DNA to go distance. That's how. And that can happen. Did it happen with me? I never got overwhelmed. But yes, people used to say this to me at one point when I thought, okay, I want to do something different. I want to do something big. But what is that different? What is that big? Yes, people would say, Yudhvir sleeps with one idea every night, and in the morning he wakes up with two ideas. Yes, that was happening with me. Did I get overwhelmed? The answer is no. But yes, I was trying to figure it out, that what do I want to do? Certainly, what I was doing as an engineer, not that I wasn't doing well. I had a great job in India. I had a great job here as well. My career was great. Many people didn't have that luxury. But this is not what I want to do. And then these ideas would keep flowing. Don't get overwhelmed. Try to figure out what you want in your life and what you are good at. That'll help you in decision making.
Absolutely. And the final one is you start projects but fail to finish them. So that's also a great indication of knowing that you just don't have the clarity that you need.
Of course, and this happens with everywhere. You can start a relationship, you won't be able to sustain it because the clarity of mind wasn't there. Yeah. You pick up a career choice, but you won't be doing well because there was no clarity in your mind. Yeah. You'll start a business, but you won't stick to it because there was no clarity in your mind. And clarity of mind, is important everywhere, but I'll just pick two examples for now. In politics, you have to make a decision, if you are at the helm of affairs, whether we should be joining the Iraq war, yes or no. That's a very important decision. I mean, somebody had to make that decision for Canada. You have to make a decision for domestic affairs. You have to make decision for different laws which will affect millions or in certain times billions of people. China and India have a population more than 1 billion people. Imagine if suddenly China decides that we want to become a democratic country today. That's a very important decision that they're making. But you have to have the utmost clarity of thought. Mm-hmm. Imagine the leaders of any country thinking today that we are going to create the first country with a $50 trillion economy. You have to have utmost clarity for that how we can arrive at that $50 trillion economy. Maybe we'll leave this discussion to some other day, but I'll quickly, give in another example. I love to play chess. Why? Because chess basically, among so many other things, when you're playing with anybody else or even against a computer, you're making decisions so rapidly, so fast, like in any other sport. Whether it's cricket, whether it's badminton, whether it's soccer, you make decisions every split second. And there are thousands of decisions that you're making. And chess, yes, you're using, the only part that you're using most is brain. The other thing is, okay, you may be moving a pawn or a horse or anything else, but most importantly, you're using your brain. So that will help you in making good decisions.
And we're going to go into how you create mental clarity daily and the things to be able to do. But it's very important to also identify that if you are experiencing mental fogness, that you make sure that you know what the cause is, what the source is. So there's one thing about achieving or striving to achieve mental clarity. But if you're finding it hard to get there, then is it just your lack of sleep? That's affecting you? Is it exercise that you're not getting? Is it a poor diet, in terms of like your nutrition and you're not getting, your protein and your vitamins? So you want to make sure, or if it's not also like a medical issue, right? So you want to be able to first tick all those boxes off and make sure that you are getting, all those things that are necessary for your body to function, your brain to function. And if you are and you still don't have mental clarity, then we have the ways to be able to get there.
Yeah, of course, you've highlighted very good factors. These factors are very important when it comes to clarity of mind, whether it's the fitness, your diet, your sleep. Imagine you've just slept for 2 hours.
Oh my God.
That's certainly going to affect your decision making.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so we can go straight into how do you create, and this is just part one of the show. We're going to continue this next week. Join us for Food for Thought every Sundays at 10 a.m., 4 p.m., and 10 p.m. That's when it's airing. So first one is, how do you create clarity daily? Have a solid daily routine. And what do I mean by that is you got to have a morning routine, right? You got to have certain things that you do in the morning to get you like what you need to accomplish. So first thing I do is I drink water. I know I need to. I've been actually starting to exercise first thing in the morning, and therefore all my joints and all the pain, everything falls into place. All of a sudden that gives me mental alertness. I found that when I do morning exercise and stretches, I'm alert throughout the day without having to rely on coffee or any external things. So, having a routine that you constantly do, whether it's a morning routine, whether it's an evening or a night routine, it gets you in a process of making life easier for yourself, right? Like it helps you remove distractions. It helps you actually get to your priorities of the day.
I couldn't agree more with that, Ramona ji. Like just you mentioned, yes, that's my thing too. The moment I wake up, of course, my first thing even before water is, my daily prayer, which is just 2 to 3 minutes. So that's one thing. And being grateful, even more than, the prayer is very important, but being grateful is very important for me every single day. And that gets me into a very different frame of mind. Because when I get up, you do the prayers, you're grateful for everything that you have today. And there's a place in our house, I look out of the window, I see all that nature is there, and I get in a different zone. And then, of course, my second thing, I come back to the kitchen, and then there's a warm water. That's my second thing. And there are a few other things that I do. So, right, daily disciplined morning routine or evening or afternoon routine, like my late evenings, yes, I do play badminton. That's very important to follow that routine. I'd like to know your routine as well.
Well, you know what? Before I had a routine, I would actually take my phone and I would start reading emails, text messages, going to social media, and that just threw me off. Because then this was determining how I feel, how I start my day, what my mental state is, and where my thoughts are going to go. And if you read something that you're not happy about or it puts you in a state, it's very hard to get into exercise and go. It's so distracting. So I made a note, I'm not going to watch the news because news is telling me all the things I don't want to know, right? When it comes to like number of cases or what's happening, because aside there's some good news, but I think with the minor good news, there's so much more alarming news, right? So I made decisions of things even not to do. right? So that was really, really important for me. But for me, it's about making sure I start moving, and I started doing journaling. So it's not that long, right? So you do gratitude, which is the same thing, whether you're saying it or whether you're writing it. It helps my brain focus, and it helps me think about, okay, what are my priorities for today? 3 things that I'm grateful for, 3 things I'm going to do today. And I actually bought a journal that has those things, so it prompts me, and then it has the evening, how did you feel today by, doing the 2 little things you decide to do. And changes don't have to be like leaps, right? They're incremental, right? And then that make a huge difference.
You said a very good point. The changes have to be incremental, because then your mindset is adjusting to that, your body is adjusting to that. So they make very little incremental changes, take very small baby steps. That's how I call. Sometimes I've done certain things very drastically. Yes, the results were great, but it didn't really fit well. Like I lost almost 54 pounds in 2013.
Wow.
So I do not recommend anybody to do that. No, you shouldn't do that. Do it in very small baby steps, very small incremental changes.
Absolutely. And you know what? Actually, we're out of time for today. So this is part 1 of how do you create your best life. And join us next week as we carry on how to create this mental clarity for yourself. And then we can go through an exercise of creating this best life for yourself in every aspect of your life. It's an exercise I did last year. It's called the Life Book, and the creators that came up with it, Missy Butcher, they're amazing in terms of John and Missy Butcher. They're a married couple. They came up with this program, and so we'll go through it next week for you to get a taste of what it's about and join us in on the exercise. But until next week,
we will be waiting for you to join us next week, and Ramona ji will leave our viewers with the 3 things today. One being that yes, every morning try practicing this, that you are grateful for these 3 things. Second thing is, every week try 3 new things. If you say, for example, if you already know how to play chess, then it's fine. If not, then try to learn a new language, try to learn a new game. But 3 things every week you start new, and 3 things you're grateful every day. Thank you.
And this is Food for Thought, only on Channel Y. Until next week, we're wishing you the best.
Thank you.